Hello everyone, this is Eric, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Girl from Nowhere, a Thai television series from 2018 that is a drama-thriller hybrid. Now this show is 13 episodes long, with each episode ranging between 35 and 50 minutes each. This is the first television series that I've ever seen from Thailand. Now the premise is rather simple on its surface. A mysterious, clever girl named Nano transfers to different high schools, exposing the lies and misdeeds of the students and faculty at every turn. Now, I do not want to describe this main character in too much detail, because that would spoil some surprises, but I think it's important to give you an idea of what she's like, because it might convince you to check out this show. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to watch Girl from Nowhere is because someone mentioned that it had certain similarities to Tomie, the Japanese horror film series about a girl who cannot die. Now, after the first episode of Girl from Nowhere, that was not entirely evident. But it is certainly evident during episode 2. She messes with seemingly good and evil people alike, which brings out some of their bad qualities and can even drive them to the point of insanity. So coupled with some key events that take place during episode 2, and, that definitely reminded me of the Tomie films. There are some other similarities to Tomie as well, so look out for those. So after episode 2, watching that, I was like, okay, now I got an idea of what the show was going to be, and I was expecting that template to be used for every subsequent episode. And guess what? I was totally wrong. Totally wrong. The stories are very episodic, since the school and the student body changes almost every episode. A few stories have 2 episodes dedicated to them, part 1 and part 2. But the constant rotation of different protagonists allows the script writing to be very bold and creative. Because regardless of what happens at the end of a story, the filmmakers are allowed to start over again with a fresh batch of students in the next episode. The only recurring character is this mysterious Nano girl. And that really works to the show's advantage because it creates a huge diversity of content. As a viewer, you'll finish an episode and discover that the next episode is entirely different in terms of story, tone, and levels of violence. Another thing that kind of accentuates the creativity of the show is that the main character, Nano, is not a normal girl. And that opens the possibility for almost anything to happen in any particular episode. And I'm intentionally being vague in that observation, but it was very interesting to watch. The overall quality of the script writing is very impressive in this. That really surprised me. There are times where it kind of plays up the disturbing aspects of its themes, like the story of the teacher who is having sex with his teenage students. But there are other times where it's like remarkably dramatic and nuanced. And this is evident in what is arguably my favorite episode, which is about a girl who is having trouble finding her talent at school, and the psychological pressures that are associated with that and kind of mounting for her. It was kind of a very thought-provoking episode that touches upon artistic inspiration and plagiarism. A lot of dramatic tension is earned there, and the ending is fantastic and totally unexpected. So Girl from Nowhere definitely impressed me in terms of its script writing. Now, keep in mind, however, that the episodic nature of this show is going to result in some episodes that are simply better than others. It's similar in ways to an anthology film, because you're always going to enjoy some segments more than others, right? And that is the case with Girl from Nowhere. But the vast majority of these episodes are interesting to watch. The one story that I disliked that comes to mind revolved around a teacher and a group of students who are hiding in their school in one room because an escaped murderer is running around the campus. It was one of the duller episodes, I think. Easily one of the weakest episodes because it lacks the impressive script writing and dynamic interaction of most of the other stories. But that's an exception that proves the rule. Girl from Nowhere is entertaining stuff for the most part. Direction and the overall style are engaging. There's different methods that are used for each episode. So for example, one episode uses social media pictures that expand and talk instead of just text reading, which I really liked. It's presented in a very fluid and appealing way throughout the show, just in general. Also, the themes that are explored are very topical and current in its social commentary regarding school kids. One of the points in this show, which is made very clear early on, is that no one is really a good person. You know what I mean? Like, how good are we really? In many cases, Nano is basically testing people's morality, and everyone keeps failing miserably. You know what I mean? It's fun watching them crash and burn as well. But there is, again, there's nuance and variety to this. It's not just the same thing over and over again. So, I mean, I strongly recommend Girl from Nowhere for all the reasons that I mentioned. Again, like, the sheer variety of stories in this show is pretty impressive stuff. It's currently on Netflix streaming in the United States. And as always, I'll see you next time.